I was open to anything because like it's more or less a blank slate. It's like a UPS driver. I don't know. But that last day at the shop, and Tim and I had obviously had a few beers. He was like, "What if you just like opened up your own shop out east and you handled the eastern United States, the sales we make out there, and I'll handle the west?" And I was like, "Are you serious?"
FMA's Coil Processing Workshop heads to Toledo. During this 2-day workshop, you'll connect with industry colleagues and gain insight into your toughest processing challenges. The small group setting includes facility tours for you to see equipment in action and discover new solutions for cutting, slitting, leveling, safety, and more. For more information and to register online, please visit fmamfg.org.
Je m'appelle Dan Davis. I am the editor of the Fabricator magazine. I did say I'm Dan Davis. Yes, I did. Joined today by Darla Welton. She helps us out on Fabricator.com with the Steel Building America series, as well as some other projects in conjunction with her husband, partner, and friend.
Yes, you did.
All these things.
He's many things.
Yes, he's also, he's at welding certification camp.
He is.
Yes. So she's helping us out today. We're having a conversation with Mitch Kramer of Wolfie, not Volify, as I asked before the interview.
Wolfie Metalworks.
Let it be known I try to do my research and still screw it up. But we were talking toward the end of the conversation, we're talking about food, and as we're recording this, it's kind of around lunch. So we started thinking it'd be kind of neat to talk about Detroit pizza, or maybe pizza in general. So
pizza in general.
What's maybe some of your favorite places?
Oh my gosh,
Detroit.
Best pizzas. Our favorites in Detroit there's a Detroit staple called Supino's, and they're out of Eastern Market, but they actually just had a fire. But they luckily opened a second location in the past couple of years that's way too close to our house. And they're on Woodward and New Center, and they're outstanding. They also make some other dishes, but pizza is their specialty.
Do they do the classic Detroit style?
You know what? They don't. They do.
Oh, wow.
They do a classic Italian style pizza, like a wood fire oven, but they've been doing it for a long time here. What's really great is that the Detroit area, much like Chicago, had a great Italian immigrant population. Yeah. And so we, reap the benefits of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Gareth is going on record saying Detroit style is his favorite style.
It is.
Pizza.
Oh, let me tell you.
And that was, did you actually eat it here to decide that, or is that?
Well, so my mom's side of the family is Sicilian, and Detroit style pizza is like an offshoot of Sicilian pizza.
Really?
So I've just grown up loving that style of pizza, like that butter crust, like
y'all would make it at home?
I don't know. I didn't get the cooking gene.
Oh,
so good.
Because
nobody got that recipe.
So it's kind of interesting. I think I've seen something where there's actual link to the automotive industry in the sense that the pioneers in the space who try to do it commercially would use pans that were being used in the factories.
What?
And
this
square
I do
or
not
something
know.
like that. But anyway,
Whoa.
the thing would retain heat and provide that awesome crust
like
on the
cast
outside.
iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cast iron. You'd have to do some research. But it's not your typical cookware you have at home. So to replicate what you get like in a commercial restaurant might be a little bit of a challenge. But, the edge on that pizza is what kind of I really enjoy.
This is so good.
Yeah.
This isn't another good. Dan fact?
It could be, yes. I'm not saying my mental faculties are sharp enough to realize what I might make up and what I might read, but
it's possible.
It's the internet, and it might be a lie there too, so it's not my fault. Thank you, Brandon.
So, Darla, what's your favorite Detroit style pizza?
Favorite Detroit style is probably my favorite actual Detroit style is from a place called Michigan and Trumbull Pizza.
Okay. Saw that on a list somewhere.
Yeah, Michigan and Trumbull Pizza. But
it's a location and a pizza place?
It is a location and a pizza place. But they're actually moving locations, and they will now be 1 block away from my house. They are amazing. They have there's a pizza that they make that has lemon lemon zest like all over it with ricotta and like some spicy peppers.
That's a nice balance.
Really good. That's my favorite thing that they have. Yeah, their Detroit style is amazing. They have an awesome menu, but our absolute favorite, our go-to, where we go all the time, is also just up the block from us. It's dangerous living in Detroit, I'm telling you. It's called Pie Side. That pizza is killer, let me tell you. And then they make, they have seasonal menus, so their main menu changes every 3 months, and then they do like brunch pizzas and stuff on the weekends. They always have a pizza of the week, and they're usually named something hilarious. Tony Hawk has a house in Woodbridge where the pizza place is, and so and then he built a skate park in Detroit, so that week they had the Coney Hawk, and Coney dogs are a Detroit thing, so it had Coney dog toppings and stuff on it, and it was awesome. Everything they make, everything is from scratch, all their sauces, everything that they do. Most expensive item on the menu is their fresh mozzarella, which goes on every pizza, and it's just top.
Well, hopefully after watching this, you don't go grab something to eat, or at least bring your smart device and you can watch the podcast as you do it. But
Pie Side, in Detroit on Trumbull Avenue. Jeremy is the owner, and he is awesome.
There you go. And Mitch Kramer is awesome as well.
Yes,
how's
Mitch
that for transition?
Amazing.
Well, yes, I'm a professional. Enjoy this conversation with Mitch Kramer of Wolfie. And enjoy his conversation. I don't know how much we contributed to it, but as he talks about installing at-home outdoor super wok setup. Anyway, enjoy.
Now available for 2023, access 2 comprehensive industry-related surveys. The Salary, Wage, and Benefit Survey provides intel to help company owners and HR managers, as well as the Financial Ratios and Operational Benchmarking Survey for crucial business performance data. Visit fmamfg.org to download both annual surveys today. And now, back to the episode.
I'm joined today by Darla Welton. You might know her from some of the pieces she and her husband, Josh Welton, have contributed to the Fabricator.com over the years. And actually, one of the pieces focused on a company called Wolfie. And I didn't pronounce that correctly before this started, but I did now, and that's all that counts.
Good job.
She covered them just prior to the pandemic, right?
No, it was like 2021.
Okay. 2021.
All right. And Mitch Kramer's joining us today. He's the Detroit representative of the company, and we'll get in more about the company. But this week we're recording in Novi, Michigan. We're taking this on the road, and hopefully maybe we can do this elsewhere in the future. Thanks for joining us, Mitch.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So can you give us a little bit of background about your relationship with the company and how you got involved?
Yeah, pretty simply, I wanted to get into fabrication and welding, and Tim was first just a friend of mine.
Yeah, and he's in Denver.
He's in Denver,
correct?
yeah, and that's where I was living. Mm-hmm. I was living in Denver before I moved out here in the middle of the pandemic, which don't do that. Don't move during global pandemic. But I was working in restaurant industry, service industry, waiting tables and like running the front of the house. And I knew that was not what I wanted to keep doing. And I had a lot of friends that, not a lot, but several that were fabricators and welders as their job, as their career. And Tim was one of them. And we played softball once a week. And I always kind of told him, I was like, hey, I'm interested in trying to learn this. And are you capable of teaching me? And he's like, I used to be an instructor. Of course I am. And he's like, it's funny you're asking. I have this thing that's going to happen for me where I'm going to be busy and I will need some help. You hear that a lot.
Right.
You know, from people like, oh yeah, sure, man. I've got so much work for you to do and can't wait to get you in. And they never call you and never hit you up. And that's kind of what happened. And it's not his fault. It's just things took longer, as they always do, to take shape. But eventually he did say, hey, it's here now. Like he assumed control of basically the products that we now make from the original creator of them. And he's like, come in and help. And so I did. And the rest is history. And now I'm like part of the company and have my own chapter of it out here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you describe the type products for the audience?
Yeah, it's all aerial acrobatic stuff. It's like end consumer, like home-based. We make mainly what it is, an A-frame rig that can break down into sort of smaller segments, but then you rig them together. You've got an A-frame rig that you can have your rigging points on, and you can do your aerial exercising and aerial routines off of sort of at home if you don't have time to go to the gym, or in the case of the pandemic when you can't go to the gym and you need something in your backyard, we sell that. And then we also sell a lot of apparatus that you can hang from said rig, and that's mainly what we're dealing in. Like 90% of what we do is all geared in the aerial market, which is really niche and sort of not too many people are aware of something like that, but it's out there.
Well, it's a perfect example of like, you don't know something's made by metal until you have this conversation and you're like, oh, that makes sense. You just doesn't just grow in the forest.
Well, you just usually don't associate, dance or acrobatics. Like you just don't think, oh, I'm sure a welder has something to, contribute to this.
Right.
You just don't make that connection, but clearly it's an important part of what they do. They can't do it without the apparatus. I mean, I'm pretty sure they only use metal.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of gyms can rig in their building, like if they have big ceiling trusses or something like that, and their insurance allows it. A lot of landlords or insurance is like, you want to do what now? So there's even gyms that will just like buy our A-frame rig. It's called the Ludwig rig. People refer to it as that. I guess going forward, I don't keep saying A-frame rig. But the landlord will be okay, or the insurance is fine if it's a freestanding thing. So a lot of gyms have purchased our rigs just to have them indoors because it's allowed. But like I said, a lot of it is like at home usage, and I mean, it's made of steel, and someone's got to make that.
And Darla, and the piece you wrote on Wolfie, you made the reference of Pink doing this like during one of her last tours. And that like, kind of helped me visualize, because I do remember how kind of bizarre concert experience that must have been. Like, just something you don't see every day.
No, and I mean, I think she did a great service to the whole aerial arts, industry. I don't know if you want to call it that, but but really, I mean, so many kids and even athletes became more, curious and involved trying it out. We have a whole gym here in Detroit that does aerial arts. It's like a circus.
No kidding. Wow.
It's an Eastern market. And I just feel like I saw it sort of explode. Like you would see it more on social media, but she really gave like a really cool face to it. And obviously she's super talented and athletic and showed it off well.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like blown away. She's such a great artist.
You had a brush with greatness being involved in this kind of sector?
I have not done any aerial.
Okay. Is there any celebrity reach out?
No, I don't think we've ever had like a celebrity of any tier, like or grade, reach out for us.
Well, let's put it out there.
Yeah,
let us know.
maybe.
We'll do a follow-up interview.
Yeah.
Why exactly does Gwyneth Paltrow need this? What type of welding goes into the preparation of these devices?
All of it for the production we do on the Ludwig rig is MIG welding. I mean, we MIG it because it's done in our shop and it's quicker.
Yeah.
And it's a lot faster than if we were to TIG weld all
Right.
this.
Are you talking bases? Because I imagine some parts have to come apart just to be shipped. And
Yeah. They all come apart, and the design is pretty clever in how that was achieved. I mean, it's basically snap buttons and some set screws that kind of like firmly get it nudged over just to be like all in line with itself. But the header piece is kind of the the focal point of all the forces and whatnot, and that's where the bulk of the welding goes into. I mean, there's a bracket pieces and top plates that all get welded to some structural tube, and that bears the brunt of the forces, and like that's kind of where it's important to make sure you're getting that header piece dialed in correctly.
Right.
And other than that, I mean, it's just legs and feet, and it's all made out of square tubing. And you say the design's simple. It took years to get it to where it is now.
Right.
It's never just, it was so easy. Just
Yeah.
woke up and did it.
Right.
And we've made minor changes to things over the years since we've kind of had more control of the design, but they're so minute. It's like you wouldn't know what they are. It's more just for like making fit up for us better and easier.
Right. What was it like to kind of cut your teeth learning fabricating, working on these products?
I mean, it was for the first like 6 months I was in the shop, I didn't do any welding. I mean, that's not what I was doing.
Sounds typical of like what somebody might go through in a shop.
And a lot of the tubing, almost all of it, is given to us from like a laser tube cutter. Like, because we do so much production run, it's like it'd take us forever to get the tubes where we need them to be, and it's cheaper just have it done that way. But it was like deburring all the pieces on the edges and cleaning them, and that's it. Like that's basically what I did, and worked on a drill press where it's like drilling some holes where they needed to be in the header pieces, because we do make the header pretty much all by hand. But yeah, for a while was not welding at all, and just doing really simple kind of grunt shop tasks, which is fine. That's what I wanted to do anyway. And eventually Tim started showing me welding, not on any pieces, but just like, let's see what you can do on this piece of scrap. And he's like, yeah, because I did not have any welding background before that. And that's what he wanted. He's like, I want you to be a blank slate for me to kind of teach you the process that I want done.
Right. That kind of message is echoed a lot by employers. Sometimes taking that blank sheet is easier to kind of mold into what they want people to do. So
I mean, he had other people helping him because he did need immediate help with like the production, and he'd have some welders in, and it would be a sort of not like butting of the heads, but he'd be like, no, how about I do it this way? And you could just see Tim be like, I have it set up to do it, like pretend it's procedural work. And he's like, yeah, but it's not procedural. And it's like,
well, it's kind of like safety is utmost important. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I mean, obviously safety is extremely important. And like, it's like, yes, you achieved the same results. Like, it's still a safe weld, like the proper weld, but it's like, it maybe took a little bit longer. It's like, no, like we have it dialed in to where it's like, these are sort of production runs, and we're not like, there's not quotas where it's like, you didn't meet them. But it's like, what you did just takes a little bit longer, and over the course of 300 pieces, it's going to just add up. So it's like, do it this way. Yeah.
How long did it take before you kind of jumped into more welding?
I'm trying to think. I mean, it was at least like after 6 months when I had done more welding on scrap, and Tim had kind of shown me, and I'd watched him weld and watched him kind of manipulate the puddle and control it, and he'd be like, this is what you want to be seeing, and this is why this is a good weld, this is where these need to be. And then he started letting me weld on the foot plates to the feet pieces, which it's just a plate welded to the end of a tube, and there's no structural element to that. It's just like you could tack weld it and it'd be fine for our purposes. But he's like, start doing these, and so I started working on those and just running stringer beads on it. And he's like, that's all it is, because MIG welding, you can pick it up pretty quickly, and then like the finer details of it obviously take time and experience being under the hood. But like, is that a good weld? Or like, have I got the settings dialed in right? Which is easy in our shop environment. I mean, the box pretty much has like the paint markers, or like, here's like where the digital readout should be. Like, this is what the settings should be. Right. And so like, learning those aspects of it, just like the troubleshooting, fine tuning, like those came much later. But like when it's all set up for you in a production environment and the instructor's right there, basically one-on-one, it was pretty easy to pick up.
And obviously Tim was a good teacher, because he had, I forget how many years he taught at He taught at
Lincoln Tech
yes.
in Denver for years. Yeah.
Yes.
And so
that was in his wheelhouse already.
He had been an instructor and knew, and career welder too. I mean, since out of high school, he worked in welding, shipyards and bridges, things of that nature, like actual structural stuff where it's like, can't fail.
Right.
Right.
It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm a hobbyist and like I'll teach you how to weld. It was like, no, this is a really good opportunity for me. I can't believe this is happening to me. Like my friend has all this work and he knows how to instruct and teach me. So.
Right. Feel like you wonder what it would have been like if you had followed like a more formal path to learn welding?
For sure. Yeah. Like if I had actually gone to welding school, which I think I was kicking around in my head, and Tim kind of was like, don't do that.
Yeah. Right.
As an instructor, and he's like, here's why. He's like, he went to welding school, but he's like, a lot of times it can just be like you paid X amount of dollars and got a receipt, basically. Like, yeah, you went to school.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't necessarily have like in-field experience or, you have a lot, maybe like textbook experience, but like actually getting out there and the realities of working something are different. And he's like, there's certain fields where you can't just go out there and do it. Like if you were going to pipeline weld, you'd have to have time in a shop and like a school
video
environment.
Is not going to do it alone.
No, and there are some fantastic YouTube channels out there. Unless you're under the hood doing stick welding and pipe, but you can. They're not going to hire you.
I watched YouTube. Hire me.
Yeah, you have to have like a pretty strong base level of like actual like hands-on work to be able to like even right now I do not do enough stick welding to pretend that I could go and pipeline weld or even structural plate welding. Like I'm curious, like I want to go like take tests and just get that done. But, like, do you actually like, would you be able to pass something like that? And I'd be surprised if I could, because that's much different. And for that, I had thought about going to school for that, but that was before Tim had this opportunity for me. Yeah.
What happened that made you want to end up coming to Michigan? And did you have like the confidence part of it, about kind of expanding the business or bringing the brand with you for the business to Michigan?
That was all Tim's idea too. Like my last day at his shop, and by that time in Denver, I was doing everything, like all the production elements.
How long had you been there?
It'd been 3.5 years, maybe 4 years. At that time, I was handling everything. Like I could do everything the shop needed to have done, and all the processes that he had developed, I knew and know at the back of my hand. So, but when it was time to leave, and I came out to Michigan because my fiance, we're going to be getting married in about 2 months. She's from here. And when we tried to buy a house in Denver, you can't afford it, or at least we couldn't. But we could out here, and our whole family's still out here. So decided to make that move. And I was thinking, like, I'm going to make a pivot, I guess, and maybe not even do welding or fabricating out here. I kind of toyed around with the idea of even going back to school for like engineering or something, which I can't imagine why I was even thinking that, really.
What was preventing you from that path?
Mainly like I don't want to say like disdain for engineers, but
you didn't say that.
Yeah.
So no problem.
Because I'm fascinated by how things work, but like that can almost get like too much, because there's that constant battle. I mean, talk to any fabricator or person that works in a shop environment. They'll be like, you won't believe what the engiers brought to me this time. And engineers are like, you won't believe what these fabricators are telling me.
Right. It's a healthy rivalry.
Yeah. But I mean, that was just like, well, it's a pandemic, and like online school is a thing, and like that could be an option. I was thinking like, oh, maybe just be an electrician, just like hop into like being a helper for an electrical guy, or go into trade school for that. I was open to anything, because like it's more or less a blank slate. I was like, I could be a UPS driver. I don't know. Like I don't care. Like it's whatever comes my way. But that last day at the shop, and Tim and I had obviously had a few beers, he was like, what if you just like opened up your own shop out east, and you handled the eastern United States, the sales we make out there, and I'll handle the west. And I was like, are you serious? Like, 'cause by that time I had a pretty strong idea of what the company was doing business wise, and I'm like, that'd be a pretty healthy job income right there. And my own shop. And he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, if you do the legwork and figure it out, and he's like, I don't see why we shouldn't do that. And at that particular time too, like I said, we moved in the middle of the pandemic. That pandemic hit and our sales went through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, the gyms closed and everyone wanted what we sell. I'm sure every aerial company, because we're not the only ones, especially now. I mean, they all like post on their website, like, we are drowning in work, please be patient. And we had to stop taking orders because we were just like, we don't know what to do. Like, this is too many. Which, you know, we kept them closed for like 2 weeks. We're like, let's open it back up again.
Right, essential.
Yeah.
Did you guys anticipate that when the pandemic hit? Like, oh yeah, our business is gonna boom, or did you anticipate a slowdown?
I don't think we had any of the foresight of like, it's gonna make our sales go through the roof because the gyms are gonna close. Because at that time, we were kind of wondering like, will we be able to work? Because when the pandemic hit, the kind of like the overwhelm of like the Hollywood-esque movie of we're all gonna die kind of was in your head. Because I was also, before I moved out here, like I had taken a part-time bartending gig again just to get more money. And like when the pandemic really hit, like the shutdowns happened, it was like they called me up. It's like, you're no longer, we're not open anymore. Like, you're done. And so it's like, well, I guess that might be what it's like at the shop too, because it seemed like only if it's essential. And I'm like, we only make stuff for like people that exercise. I guess that's not essential. But you know, as it kind of like moved on and progressed, it's like, okay, like there's not like enforcement of this, and I think we're essential anyway. I don't know, it didn't matter. But yeah, the gyms closed and sales just went nuts, and so that kind of boosted, I think, our overall confidence in being like, yeah.
Were you set up in Michigan at that point?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, I moved out here and like got busy doing the legwork of finding a location, getting vendors set up, like I said, like the laser tube, getting that figured out here, which Troy Laser, they're great. Amazing company to work with, truly. But yeah, just doing that legwork, it took a while. I mean, it was a lot more difficult than I thought it'd be. I'd be like, dude, Detroit's got so much dead industry. There'll be a building, no problem. It'd be so easy. No, it was not that easy at all. Every building out here is huge. And they're like, yes, 40,000 square feet. And I'm like,
so big.
Wow. I'm like, it's a very small scale operation, very small company. I mean, it's two of us. We're not big, and you know, there's no way I could justify having that much space, let alone afford it. It just wasn't possible. So it took a lot longer to find a smaller spot, which I finally did. And then, yeah, slowly I've been operating out here for like almost 3 years now, which is kind of
How much
amazing.
space do you need?
I have about 2,000 square foot shop space.
So you have material stored inside, or is it kind of delivered on an as-needed basis? I order a lot of steel tubing from my laser cutters in bulk, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to store that. It's all stacked up. Right.
But no, like Tim's shop in Denver, I think it's not even 1,000 square feet. I mean, it's full to the brim with lots of stuff, but it all works out because you really don't need much space. And we've done custom projects that are like sort of aerial adjacent, and you operate out of there. You don't need a ton of space. You know,
everything's set up before it's sent out.
There's test fitting procedures we have to where we don't have to actually erect a rig. It's actually pretty easy. There's just like two handheld pieces where it's like, if this fits into this, it's good.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty easy actually to make sure everything's good and set.
Right. And you've kept the company's kept busy all these years, pretty much with this one sector. Even as more companies have entered it, or are they dedicated to it like Wolfie is?
I think like one of the just amazing aspects of Tim and I like having this company is the guy Ludwig that created this rig. He was an aerialist, and he was one of the first people that has like, he sort of had like national recognition amongst the aerial community of like, he makes this aerial A-frame rig that's portable you can set up at your house. It was like 20 years ago when it was not as crowded or as competitive as it is now. And just by virtue of that, by him being synonymous with like, one, he's credible. He's not just some hokey guy making stuff in his spare time. It's like he has an engineering background, is also very into aerial, and he designed this rig, and people in the aerial community trust him and respect him. And so like by virtue of that, it's like, and he vouched for Tim too when he took over. He's like, Tim has been helping me, because Tim met him by helping him. And Ludwig's older, so like he's retiring, and he sold the company to Tim, thinking, he's like, how many more people can buy aerial rigs? You know, it can't be that many. And it turns out it's pretty much a gold mine. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, Tim and I, we just kind of laugh with like, how lucky are we?
What was the name of the website that Ludwig had again? I know it was
It's still live. It is still live. It's called damnhot.com.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, he's got all these different ventures. He's that kind of person. And it was like little things like hand warmers, more or less. And I think and it's a very old website. I mean, he made it himself.
Right.
Like he knows how to like code.
There we go.
I mean, but back in like 2001, like the website's HTML 1.0, and it's almost unnavigable. It's like broken. And this was the website used for years for people to place orders on, which is astounding to me because it just seems so stupid.
So this was the face of the product, basically.
It literally looks like my resume on the internet.
For years. But like, granted, this came around. I forget when he made it. It's like 2001. And so this was made a long time ago by him, which is kind of also, it's like he's able to do a lot of things.
2001 is like e-commerce, like birth of e-commerce.
Truly.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, he had it set up to where like you could order through this website, which figuring that out back then is pretty hard. You can't just like, you can go onto Google now and be like, help with ordering system on a website, and there'll be like a huge chunk of code you can just paste in more or less.
Oh yeah, I see an AOL.com email. So,
oh yeah. But it's called Damn Hot because he had like this thing he was designing for like hand warmers, and instead of buying a new domain name, he's like, whatever else, put it on Damn Hot. And it's just like,
I'm shocked this is still.
Oh yeah, it's still up.
Yeah. It's so great.
Yeah.
But I do think there was something on that there. It was like, okay, I'm not building these anymore.
Yeah.
You have to
it's like
contact
I'm turning
Tim.
this over to Tim, and Tim has like been one of my fabricators for a while, and yeah, I mean, he worked it out with Tim to where it's like certain royalties get given to Ludwig, because he thought it was like it's gonna slow down and be over, but it really hasn't. I mean, even before he sold it to Tim before the pandemic, and like sales just keep going up. Because I guess the interest in this is very high and growing.
Yeah.
I'd love to see one in a backyard.
I mean,
it's not like something you can do kind of quietly if you have even a 6-foot fence. Because people are gonna.
I want a neighbor who does this.
Well, because it's built up like segments at a time, it can rig only as high as like 8 feet if you want. People set it up in their living rooms if they have a tall enough ceiling. But if you want to go that full height, yeah, that's easy too, and put it in your backyard. And
you had mentioned laser cut tube. Mm-hmm. Has the laser cutting technology, gotten better to the point you don't have to spend as much time like deburring the material coming in?
Yeah, I mean the edges we do, I think, pretty much solely because powder coat sometimes has a hard time adhering to a sharp edge.
Right.
And so we just deburr that edge just to allow the powder coat to kind of turn out a little better. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the holes that come to us, they're welded on anyway, so like deburring isn't that important. But the cuts the laser make are, I mean, it's just like, did anything even happen there? Just like the tube came that way.
Right.
Yeah.
It grows like that way in the forest.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what it feels like sometimes when I get the shipment from Troy Laser, and like I've gone into their place and seen the machines. I'm just like, the technology's amazing.
Well, I mean,
the technology's so incredible.
I mean, when it comes to tube alone, like back in the day, that stuff had to be machined. You know, they couldn't, to be able to kind of do that type of precision on a a cylindrical thing is pretty something, and the speed at which it does it nowadays is pretty awe-inspiring as well.
It's kind of mesmerizing to watch it.
Oh yeah,
it's all about sparks, right? I mean,
right. Who doesn't love sparks?
There you go. Have laser technologies moved forward? Welding technology moved forward to help you kind of make your job easier?
I mean, there's certainly, like a lot of the newer boxes have all the preset stuff where it's like my material is this thick and I'm, working on this type of material and it's all done for you that way. It kind of takes maybe some of the troubleshooting out.
Right.
And the welders that I have in my shop right now, it's just a Hobart Ironman 240 I do the bulk of my welding with, and I am looking to upgrade because it's cheap enough now, but like the two settings you can control, I just don't like how there's nothing, it doesn't tell you anything. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I got the temper voltage, and that at least has like a full-on selector. And the wire feed, same thing. It's like 55 or 6. It's not actually telling you what the voltage is or the wire speed, with the wire feed speed. And I mean, I know where it needs to be because we do so much repetitive work, but it is kind of annoying to be like, okay, like with zero DRO or anything like that. It's like, okay, it would be a lot nicer to just have like. And even old machines had that. But, it's like it does the job.
Right.
Sure.
But it's done it for a while too, though.
It's done it for a while, quite well. Yeah, there's his machine right there.
Yeah, I mean, Tim gave me a chunk of money to get the shop up and running, but it's just like that's what he uses in Denver. I'm like, I'm gonna do that out here.
Right.
And But I mean, the welding technology, it's amazing today. I mean, there's so much that can assist a person that's really starting to learn with making a good weld. I mean, like there's like all these parameters. I don't even know how to talk about them, but it's like, you like have a little bit too much stick out. It's like, it's okay. It's compensating for it.
Right. Right.
It's so true. It's incredible. But I think that even though the new machines make it easier, they also help you learn more about settings and what to use for the different materials. They're not just doing the job for you, which is pretty cool. Mitch actually came out to our shop last month and did some TIG welding with Josh, because you said you had recently bought a TIG machine.
Yeah, I've had a TIG machine in the shop for like 2 years.
Okay.
But I just don't do too much of it. Like my work doesn't necessitate that I really do. But, it's in playing around with it. It's just like, man, I suck at this, Like I said, the one job I did for a guy before I gave the work back to him, and he was like, "Oh, this is so great! Like, I'm gonna keep bringing you work, man." And I gave him back. It was just like a weird little piece welded to something else, and it was like an automotive decorative thing. And he never called me back. He never brought work.
He was like, "Cool, man, thanks."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, he looked at us like,
I reached out to Mitch because we had a guy that was coming to take a workshop, and we just were sort of fitting in some people that we had to reschedule. And so I have one guy coming in for a 4-hour workshop, and I was like, "Hey, Mitch, you still interested in learning a little more TIG? Come on down."
And that's just time under the hood stuff. I mean, it's like I just don't do enough of it to consider myself like skilled or good at it. Like if it needs to get done, it will. But like just at that workshop, it was just like, oh, okay, like I can definitely make some TIG welds. It's not. I'm not atrocious at it.
Yeah.
No, they looked great.
Yeah.
Josh, can you call this guy? I just gave this part too.
It's the thing where you see, like, TIG welding on social media is such a hot thing where it's like, look at the dimes and stuff, and it's just like, well, I don't look like that. You don't have to. You don't have to look like that.
Nope, you don't.
It sure does. It does look really cool. It's like, wow, it's a steady hand and steady feed rate, and like they're traveling perfectly. Yeah, it does look cool, but like it's, get the penetration and actually fuse things together.
And a lot of times those welds don't really have any penetration. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that also contributes to like some people not really understanding like what makes a good weld. And I wouldn't expect them to if you don't work in fabrication and welding. It's like, it doesn't have the stacked dime look. It's like, it doesn't have to necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've kind of assumed the role as like I don't want to say elder statesman, but somebody with like experience in metal fabricating, to where, you feel like you can kind of talk confidently maybe with someone else who's been in the field?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like another one of my friends out in Denver. He did a lot of fabrication work on handrails and like making pretty cool like rock crawlers and roll cages, and I would help him do some of that work. And he's like out in the field type guy. Yeah. And he was an incredible, knowledgeable resource, and he could explain things really well. And so like just having been around him, that's helped me feel pretty confident and I understand I know how fab work goes. And how, that said, if there was any sort of like procedural stuff where it's like, this is pretty heavy duty, like structural building stuff, it'd be like, well, I haven't taken that test. I would never say I know how to do something like that. It's
interesting though, because the way that you did learn, especially MIG welding and the structures and, proper processes and settings, all this knowledge that you have now, coming from Tim, it does really speak to that apprenticeship model. Once again, like how valuable that is, being in the field, doing a specific type of job. There's a lot of value in that. And I mean, there's career welders who only do MIG welding.
Yeah.
They never pick up a TIG torch. We actually have a lot of them show up in our workshops. They're like, I've been, a MIG welder for 20, 25 years and I've never picked up a TIG torch. So, I'm just really curious and bought a machine when I retired, or, we have a new thing at work and I just really need to learn. So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, even if like one process, you can very confidently, proudly say, I am a welder.
Well, and going into working with Tim, I didn't understand that there are different sort of aspects of the whole field of fabrication and welding where it is like a guy's like, I just weld.
Yes.
And it's like asking to fit something up and he's like, no, I don't do that. I weld it.
I weld. Yep.
And Tim and my other friend, Adam, he was definitely like, you want to be a fabricator. You want to kind of know how to actually make something rather than just weld it. He's like, that's just their opinion. But I definitely saw that. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me. Like, I like to build something or have the knowledge base to fabricate something from the ground up and not just be like I do welds, that's all I do. Yeah. Which is fine too.
Right. Yep, there's definitely a place for that. Mm-hmm. What other projects have you worked on? I'm sure you've done other projects in the shop at this point, even since I've talked to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the cooler projects that I've helped were out in Denver, just because we have more of a kind of more keyed into more people out there, whereas I'm still kind of getting my feet wet and just understanding like what's out there here and connecting with people. And also like people out here will be like, oh yeah, totally, I want that done. And doesn't necessarily happen. If that's just because they never get back to me or the quote wasn't what they thought it'd be, But out there, we made this really cool sort of like rock climbing wall on the side of a bus that could
sweet.
And it was like dancing. It was like they would do this dance off this sort of a rock climbing face where they had like the plastic holds, but they needed a frame for it and needed to like hinge underneath the bus, like one part of it and on top. And so we made these big frames to like mount the rock climbing walls too. And that was a really cool project.
That's awesome.
And that involved a lot of like custom making these hinges and making sure everything could fit squarely. So like when these like pieces of wood with the holds went on it, it was flush and could hinge under the bus and then stay hinged under the bus and on top. And then it folds out and the top piece sort of like came out more to where it's like you could climb up and sort of be on like
So
and
cool.
It was pretty neat because they still, I think, drive it around. And
that's so awesome. I feel like Tim sort of has his ear to the ground with these unique projects, right? So somehow he met this aerial guy. Somehow he meets the bus rock climber people. And I know he's also, we were talking about this yesterday, Tim's also contributed to Wolf.
Yeah.
in Denver, and which I've now since been to the one in Vegas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had one in Vegas even.
Yeah, I guess it's newer from the past couple years.
I would think, yeah.
In Santa Fe and Grapevine, Texas.
Yes.
So
I've been to the Santa Fe one. That's like the first one. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
that's right. Yeah. So cool. It was such a blast. We were there for like hours.
Yeah.
Explain what Meow Wolf is for the people at home.
Can you explain what Meow Wolf is? It's like a large interactive art
It's an experience, Dan.
experience. Yes.
Thank you.
And you must go to Meow Wolf to really understand and know Meow Wolf.
It seemed like to me, I think I used the phrase, it seems like it's an escape room where you don't feel the pressure of trying to escape.
Yeah.
So
It is amazing, and they do allow a lot of really amazing artists that are both known and unknown get their work out there to where lots of people will see it.
Size and scale is
but there can be an element of that where it's like a Disney World-esque feel where and also like the serious art world's really annoying too.
Right.
So
right.
Like Meow Wolf at least does kind of have more of like a accessible and approachable feel to it. But there's pros and cons for everything.
That it's kind of funny where some of these connections come in fabricating, just the people you end up kind of meeting and working with, and because it's not, I think you mentioned capitalistic, but I think in many ways a lot of our publication covers people making parts, delivering on time, big, serving hundreds of customers, and that's not everything. Sometimes it's just like, as we're talking about Wolfie and individuals working on stairs, there's a lot of different opportunities for folks that have the skills to do what you do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've thought about it where it's like, if you were more business minded, it's like you'd have someone doing all the production work for you, and then you'd be out there hustling, being like, let's get these handrail jobs, let's get these other municipal jobs, and then I'd hire more welders into my shop, and then I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I'm that person.
No. So we do like the Fab 40, where we kind of rank customers according to self-reported revenue. And, there's the number one for several years has been MEC, Mayville Engineering out of Wisconsin. Publicly held company just within the last couple of years, I think. Close to $500 million in revenue. Yeah. Like private, well, not publicly owned, but companies right behind them, privately owned. But there's nothing wrong with people running like the family shop with like 10 people, and that's the majority of the shops in the U.S.
It is.
Small size shops, and it's they do it because they like it.
Yeah.
And it kind of is nurturing in a way that you can have both the yin and the yang. You want to go chase the dollar bill, you can do that. And it's I think it bodes well for those that have the skill to do it.
Mm-hmm. And the personnel to do it.
And the soft skills as well. I think sometimes that gets underplayed. But
No, I mean, does that mean like customer service type?
Yeah, like your ability
have one
to
now?
connect with Tim. If you have that, and just speaking with you, I feel like I'd invite you to my softball team if I had friends. But you have a way, ability to work with others, and we were kind of having it once again on a previous conversation. It's in this age of Zoom meetings and remote work, the ability to work with others, it's kind of taken on even more importance, because when you get together, things have to happen. You can't afford static to eat up. You got 30 minutes for a meeting, and awkward silence isn't going to do well for 20 minutes.
Or just talking in circles about the same stuff where it's like nothing got accomplished there.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's just a good laboratory for like entrepreneurialism and doing things on your own. And did you ever have a feel like you would be in that position?
Like doing things on my own.
Yeah, because I know that you worked like in food service, and I have enough of those friends that there's always in the back of their mind if they can do their own thing, but that's a real capital intensive like investment.
Yeah, I mean, I was like a manager at a small restaurant that was locally owned, and like I had my front of the house staff that I managed and like ran the beverage program or whatever.
Okay.
And so like that's, I had a lot of freedom to do that. And like,
creativity as well.
Yeah,
right?
I got to shape the way the wine list was made. I got to, you meet with the reps and taste the wine and be like, that's going to fit with our food that we're doing right now. And so I had that element of freedom, and it's like, no, people trust me to do stuff, and I can do stuff. And when Tim brought the idea of like doing it out here, Wolfie, I was like, yeah, dude, I can do that.
Yeah.
But like I said, like expanding into different markets and different areas of fabrication, I'm busy enough, so I'm happy where I'm at. But there is a part of me where it's like, I want to keep doing more work outside of aerial.
Right.
Like I don't want to stay in aerial forever. So I am trying to kind of hustle a little bit to see what's out there and get more work in different fields. But like I said, it doesn't just come to you. I mean, and there's elements where it's like, here's what I want to get paid for that. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to pay you for that. So, yeah.
But don't let up on that.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty firm believer, and it's like, well, someone else will pay that.
Exactly.
And that's,
exactly.
Yeah. I don't want to work for a client that's cheap.
Right. Because, some people don't learn that lesson and push an
They
envelope.
get stuck in that cycle and being taken advantage of, and we've seen it happen time and time again.
Well, and I've, like Tim's done it, I've done it where you misquote something, and no job, no matter what you think, it's like, it's going to be an easy job. No, it's never. Like, it wouldn't take professionals to do it if there weren't problems that you had to problem solve, and then have, not necessarily, you have to have the right tools, but certainly helps when you run into trouble somewhere, and it's like, I've got the thing that can help us get this done, and the knowledge to get it done. It's like, no job is easy, no matter what. So like being able to problem solve and do that, it's like, you got to build that into some quotes, because like it's going to take longer than you think. It always does.
Yep.
Do you look at possibly bringing somebody on as you kind of like entertain maybe more work? Yeah.
I mean, I've had a couple people. A big aspect is packaging up the rig and shipping it out. So I hire people to do that because I need to. And I've done that work myself because it is pretty simple, but I want to get people in that are like, do you have any interest in doing some of the tasks that I first started out doing? Because like deburring on a bench grinder, it's pretty, you can do this. Anyone can do that more or less. Or working the drill press, I guess got a new to me Bridgeport, so it's like way easier now, which is so awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, but like I could teach them, like, it's already set up, like you can't screw it up, like just don't crank down on the feed, just go nice and slow, and that hole will get made for you. And having people do that kind of work for me, then like gradually, if they keep showing interest and sort of aptitude, building them up to being like, yeah, do you want to weld? Do you want to learn to weld? But I mean, the two people I've had doing that for me, they've gone off on different, work. Like one just got an electrician apprentice, and it's like, yeah, great. He's like 18 years old and already like way ahead of where I was. Where I was like, good for you, man. Like that's what you should be doing. And
that's really cool. I love that you think it would be cool to kind of do what was done for you. Yeah, that's really cool.
Like pay it forward or backward. I don't know what that goes, but like Tim did that for me. It's like I want to try to do that for someone else too. And you get the right person, then you can sort of expand. But it's hard when you're kind of a control freak too. Yeah, like with some of the stuff on, especially the headers, it's just like, it needs to be done this way, and I know I can do that. And like, even if I got someone in, it's like, I'm a welder, I know what to do. I'm sure I'd be running into the problems that Tim had, a guy being like, nah, here's what you should do. It's like, oh man, it's like, it's not your shop. I can't. That's funny. Yeah.
With the boom of like this type of aerial product, are there other companies that are trying to replicate what you guys are doing? Or are they reaching out to consult with you at all?
Yeah, there's a lot of products that are very similar to what we do. And then we don't have a patent or anything on what we make, because it's almost like too basic to maybe have. Like, there's certain elements we probably should look into that, but that's money and lawyers and stuff. So, but I remember this one guy, it was like 2 years ago. He was from out of Houston or something. And he was just so clearly trying to like get the inside scoop on how we do what we do. And he more or less has like copied us wholesale. And we were kind of like, what is this guy's angle here. And like we see him now making stuff and sort of like trying to advertise himself as like, his website is literally a copied verbatim from our website that we currently have, where it's almost like, I think we could do something like, dude, you like, this is not okay. Like you're, in a way, he was almost trying to market himself as making what we make. And yeah, it's like, that's so weird, because it's not regulated. I mean, if someone wants to make stuff, they can. Like, I'm a fabricator, and if you want to make a ladder rack for someone's truck and someone lets you do that, there's not like a regulatory process you go through to have that done. And it's that way for aerial, for better or worse. I mean, it's pretty Wild West out there. And some of the stuff that Tim and I have seen that have been made for people where it's like, that is not safe. Like, you shouldn't be doing anything on this. And not just because like, you should give us your business. It's not that at all. It's just like, dude, you gotta dig a little deeper. And like, just because someone says they fabricate and it's like, oh yeah, I can make aerial equipment. It's different. Like, it's not just, yep, I welded this up and did it. And it's like, okay, like if you want to purchase that, you can. But there's
your
definitely
life, your limbs.
And I think a lot of aerialists, it is very like, most of them are like, no, like here's the people that are trusted. Here's what you should be looking for, and like we're a part of that. And there's other our rig suits a certain need for people that want to do aerial, but not everyone. And we gladly steer people to the people that make a different style of rig that maybe is more suited for the type of aerial they want to do. It's like, go to them. Like, they have what you're looking for that will make it easier to do the type of aerial that you want to do. And I'm not too knowledgeable about the different types of aerial because I don't necessarily do that. But our customer service rep we have is an aerialist, and she is knowledgeable about that. And it's just like you know, Bobby Bates makes this type of rig. It's a little bit more suited for what you're looking to do, because we're not trying to be like cutthroat, like let's control that market, give us your business. It's like, oh no, if that's what you're looking to do, go, like that rig is what you want. But yeah, like I said, anyone can make this stuff. Anyone, and
or the
for better or worse.
aerialists unionized, you can get their seal of approval.
I mean, more so you kind of run into like someone wants to do an event somewhere with our rig, and they need to have like insurance or something like that. At the event's like, can you prove to us like this rig is, say when we have like the certificates of like engineering that have sort of can be provided for that. But you know, there's a lot of apparatus and rigs that maybe don't necessarily have that, and doesn't mean they're not high quality, right? Because it can be expensive to get that type of stuff. But there's also some where it's just like, there's been established brands, like, I'm not gonna name the name, but like a big player in the aerial, it's like the quality noticeably went downhill because he was trying to do too much, and he was having people come in to help him, and they weren't cutting it. And it's like, you can't, you know, you got to be diligent, because it is so just, it's like, it's more or less unregulated. I don't see how you'd necessarily have any sort of governing body over it.
Do you do welding outside of work?
Yeah. Really? I mean, I make a lot of projects for my house. Like, I just I like to cook. Obviously, I mean, being in a restaurant background, I just got a wok burner that's like really high heat. And I'm gonna build out like a whole little station for outdoors to where I can cook on the wok and have like, you know, just like cupboards and stations like that.
How many BTUs we talking?
I forget what it's rated for, but like, it will, if you're not attentive to it and what you have in there, it will burn within like 5 seconds. You know, that's how hot a wok needs
I've seen
to
those
be.
guys working. It's it's way beyond my
you gotta, I mean, constant motion, and
it's amazing for something that takes those guys, like, you watch them work it and the meal's done like in a minute, minute and a half. You're like, what am I paying for? But like you said, that's what you're paying for, a minute and a half.
The wok skill, I mean, it's one of the best YouTube feeds and channels is called Yummy Boy. I'm gonna plug Yummy Boy right now. Incredible videos.
Is that B-O-Y or B-O-I?
B-O-Y. There's no, it's all just, it's like ASMR in a way, because there's no talking, there's no like, what's up guys, with this Walkman. It's just like they show like it'll be like just some Thai dude setting up his stall on the street for the day, and the sound and the audio and the video of it's just incredible. And then like he gets to working and firing up that food, and it's just like you can't watch it when you're hungry. Otherwise, you're gonna be like,
my gosh.
Man.
I feel like I could get lost on that for hours.
It's awesome.
My dad and I don't even know what the name of the show is. I swear it's on like PBS or something. But there's been a few times I've been in my parents' house and my dad will just turn on the show. I don't know the guy's name, nothing. He's an Asian man and he just travels all around Asia and cooks with people in like small towns or villages, or they're on the road and like they're just cooking alongside the road, and they lay like wheat on the road and they let the cars drive over it to like break it up, and then they collect it and they use it in the cooking. And I was just like, or he's like cooking out on a boat, he's catching fish, and they're just like, he's got this little wok set up on a boat and he's just cooking in the boat, and it's so charming. You just get lost in it.
Oh yeah.
It
and
is
he doesn't
like
talk a lot.
you describe. It's like it's comforting. Like it's
yeah.
calming
I mean,
as
look,
well.
okay, here's Yummy Boy.
Yeah, I mean, Asian culture has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and so like, they know how to cook, man.
Oh
my
gosh.
It's just so good. Like especially the Japanese. We're so off topic, but like the Japanese ones, like they've been a Japanese restaurant, like the level of organization they have, where I watch them like, wow, like you got to bring that to what you do, because like if you are doing production runs, it's like you do have to think about like everything set this way, this way, this way. That way you can maximize the efficiency.
All that lean stuff is all Japanese. I shouldn't say all, but it was refined based on American concepts in Japan. Mm-hmm. So it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
You got your burner outside though, right? There's no way you'd do that inside, would you?
It would just destroy the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, it
feel
says
better.
like it's like do not use this indoors, like,
Right.
unless you have a industrial hood.
Yeah. Like stainless steel everywhere.
Like I've thought about like, dude, maybe I need to get one. In
That'd be so funny.
That would be really cool. I'd love to have like just a hibachi grill in the middle of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like how awesome would that be?
No, a
Come
couple
on.
friends of mine, they are chefs. Here in Michigan, they work at Maple Gray, great restaurant, by the way.
So good.
They got like an industrial hood in their home, and I've seen them. It's like, I maybe need to think about getting.
That's funny. That's funny, but yet you're one step closer to where you might be able to actually do some of the work.
Yeah, I have thought about
Get
that.
those TIG skills down. And
I know. I got to see that. Yeah, some TIG stainless, and oh my goodness, yes. I got to see your setup when you get it done.
Oh yeah, I will definitely. I mean, I haven't started making it yet.
Is it
but
part of like an outdoor kitchen setup?
That's kind of the idea. Like I want to incorporate into like my grill that I have, and have like the whole station there.
Yeah, that's a neat. Like I've never seen that a part of anybody's like outdoor kitchen setup. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I keep trying to get Josh.
powered.
yeah, propane.
Okay.
And like I've traveled Southeast Asia before, and I know this one family I was staying with through a friend of mine that I had growing up. They were cooking for us, and they were cooking outside. And all the cooking in Southeast Asia is done outside because it's nice out there, like it's covered, and it's not cold. But they're like, oh, if anyone ever is cooking for you indoors in Southeast Asia, that means they don't like you. They're like, the good food is cooked outdoors, and so I'm like, okay. I'm like, I want to have this like wok set up.
Step foot in Thailand. Like, come on inside, enjoy. It's gonna happen.
Now you know.
Yeah, they're like, no one, if they like you, they would never cook for you indoors.
That's funny.
Well, it's kind of nice because, I mean, most welding you're doing inside. So to have that, outside hobby and that's pretty great. I love cooking outdoors. I even bought like extra burners that I can set on tables and everything in the summertime. I want to cook
DJ
outside.
With burning.
Oh, that's just, I'm totally a food DJ.
Well, that was a nice way to kind of bring it to a place. Garrett, before I rudely interrupt everybody, do you have a question?
I don't. It was going to be something cooking related, but that's just, we're starting to get way off.
All right. Well, thank you, Mitch, for joining us today. It's been fun.
Thank you for having
Congratulations
me.
on the success.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I owe it all to Tim. Really, can't say that enough, Tim Omsbach. Owe it all to Tim. Thank you.
And it's a website.
What, Damn Hot?
Yeah. Well, there's a link
That'll get
to
you.
where
Yes.
you.
Yeah,
There
the
you
link
go.
to the
Found it,
proper
yeah.
website, Wolfie, and that's V as in Victor. It's like VVOLFY.com.
There you go.
We're right there.
Please go to where you get your podcasts, rate, review, subscribe, recommend us to some friends. We'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, send them to podcast@thefabricator.com. Is that correct, Gareth?
You got it again.
Thank you.
You're on
I'm
a roll,
I
actually.
am the Joe DiMaggio of, and he didn't even hold the record. Who holds a consecutive hits record?
That was Joe.
No, he was the American. Is that right? Yeah, you're right. 56.
Hit streak? Yeah, 56.
Yeah,
That's
all right.
Joe.
There you go. See?
There you go. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited with the help of Brandon Geyer. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Dana Weicker, Mary Diamond, Mike Owens, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.